Hi everyone, my name is Joseph, and today I did want to have a discussion about The Ones Who Live from the Walking Dead universe, episode 2. The episode is titled Gone. In case one is unaware, the first 3 episodes all have a piece of the title. When combined, it forms a full sentence, and unfortunately, episode 4 and 5, they have two halves of a title where on its own it doesn't really make sense, but that's not a discussion about the titles. We're here to discuss episode 2. Excuse me, I know I am a bit behind in terms of the schedule of The Ones Who Live. We're already in episode 5, but since I only released 2 videos, I had to determine which ones I want to release first, and so yeah, unfortunately, The Ones Who Live, I know I'm behind, but at least I'm going to do my best to catch up and for sure do a video for each of the individual episodes. So with that being said, let's finally discuss episode 2. So right off the bat, I loved how it begins right where it left off of season 9, episode 10, I believe, when Michonne leaves the main story of The Walking Dead. In case one forgot, when she leaves, she encounters 2 individuals who are in need of assistance, and they're coming from a big group of people. Now, I'm not going to lie, before episode 2, I really truly believe that those group of people was like the Portland group. In case one is unaware, the World Beyond, The Walking Dead World Beyond, I always get that title confused. And contained a storyline where the main character was going to warn Portland about what the CRM was doing. And so when I found out about that information, I truly believed that the group that Michonne came across would be the Portland group. As it turns out, it was just a random group. Another showcase of how one survives in this new apocalypse, or rather than this new normal that the characters, the cast of The Walking Dead live in, this new world. And essentially the way that they live was they kept moving forward. And so Michonne starts making a way focus on how that's not a good way to live. One is going to leave people behind. If your focus in life is to keep moving forward, not to help those around you, is that really a good way to have a livelihood? And so that's how the episode begins. Episode 2, I was quite happy to see. I thought for sure that episode 2 would end with how episode 1 ended, with the reunion between Rick and Michonne. But thankfully, that actually occurs about midway through that episode. And then after that, we actually get a little bit of Michonne and Rick together within the CRM and kind of navigating that world, this materialistic world that Michonne is now partaking in, and she's never really encountered before. She left before the Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth, I would argue, before the CRM, the closest that The Walking Dead had to a military would have been the Commonwealth, which is unfortunate because if one reads The Walking Dead, Rick's group actually kind of formed a little militia that Dwight was in charge of. But anyways, that's neither here or there. The story is different. But again, Michonne hasn't encountered the Commonwealth. She's only encountered these ragtag groups of individuals. The biggest army that she's encountered has been the Saviors when her and her group were fighting, when Rick's group was fighting, Negan's group, the Saviors. So this is really interesting and intriguing to see how Michonne's going to react. So I do have benefit of the hindsight because I am caught up with the show. I'm only going to discuss episode 2, and I love how it really sets up the fact that despite these 2 characters that the audience, the fan base loves so much, despite them finally finding one another, they're not quite out of the clear yet, especially for Rick, because we know as the audience that there's been a lot of threats levied towards Rick, where if he leaves the CRM, the ones that he loves and cares about, they're not going to be safe. And even if Okafor is gone from the picture, we find out that Jadis, who pops up at the end of the episode, she's not happy, and she's of course aware of who Michonne is. Michonne's pretending to be someone else. So it was a really exciting episode. I did watch it twice, and I'm planning to watch it again when I'm done with the whole series. And next week already is going to be the series finale, unfortunately. Soon on the news, there's going to be a season 2. I'm hopeful there will be a season 2. I forgot how much I missed Rick Grimes. But with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about some of the characters that were introduced in this story. So it's continuing the trend of how episode 1 introduced Okafor, and a lot of audiences, the fan base really loved Okafor's character. Unfortunately, in this episode, not only do we get 3 new characters, we get a whole new little pseudo group as well, a pseudo community, and unfortunately they don't last for very long. There was Nat, so pardon me everyone, Nat, who was portrayed by Matthew Jeffers, Bailey, portrayed by Andrew Batchelor, and then Aiden, portrayed by Britta Wool. Right off the bat, I have to say, I really appreciate how the show took the opportunity to not recast Aiden and Bailey's character, but quite literally they use the same actors from season 9, episode 10, the one where Michonne leaves. And I really appreciate that because it does help to maintain a sense of continuity, and it makes it feel a bit more immersive, right? Despite the fact that season 9 occurred, about 3-4 years ago now by this point, the stories continue. This is a continuation of that story. I really do feel, that other individuals have pointed this out as well, how The Ones Who Live truly does feel like a sequel to The Walking Dead, truly does feel like the proper ending to The Walking Dead, or more specifically to Rick's story. And the fact that they're picking up exactly where 1 left off, and with episode 1 picking up, they didn't show exactly Rick being picked up, but we don't need to be shown that again. We already know that Rick has been picked up and he's tried to escape multiple times. I love that sense of continuation really helps make the story feel cohesive, despite the fact that this is not called The Walking Dead. This is called The Ones Who Live, though I believe the technical title is The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, but one knows what I'm referring to, right? Well, hopefully. Bailey and Aiden, despite for being in the story for so little, I think the writers did a really good job of having, or rather of emphasizing why those characters were present in the story, to kind of remind Michonne that it's incredible that she still has this care and love for Rick and this hope for Rick. But she also does have other family members that she needs to keep aware of, her family, more specifically her children, RJ and Judith. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not the biggest fan of Judith and RJ. I much prefer Carl, but unfortunately he is gone. But despite me not being a fan, I could totally get that perspective. And it was incredible how at the end it really seemed like Michonne was going to be convinced to abandon her journey, except that Rick has finally passed on. The likelihood of him being alive is very low. And yet, the story does a really good job of how, in the end of the first episode, when Rick's helicopter gets attacked, we see why Michonne and Nat do what they do. They did it because they want revenge. They want revenge on the friends that they lost. I already mentioned how Bailey and Aiden have been passed away, unfortunately, but also the little pseudo group, this new community that Michonne was going to lead, and unfortunately, it didn't even last for it seems like it didn't even last for 24 hours. And so I think the writers did a good job of connecting that separate Michonne story and intertwining it into the Rick story, and how it ends up not clashing because that sounds negative, but how it ends up meshing with one another. With all that being said, though, the pacing, many have pointed out about the pacing for both episodes 1 and 2. It's very fast, it's very quick, and unfortunately, this fast pace remains for episode 3 and 4 as well, but I'll discuss that once we get to it. But I would argue that this quick pacing is actually necessary, since this is only 6 episodes. I believe if the Ones Who Live was an actual 10 episode season, or even an 8 episode season, we would have gotten a more showing than telling. Essentially, the reason why the pacing is so fast is because we need to be told how the set pieces are coming together in order to progress the story. With that being said, even though I said showing versus telling, I do appreciate how everything is not just expository. Even though the pacing is really fast, like for example in episode 2, we're not shown how Michonne rescues Nat, Aiden, and Bailey and finds a safe space, an area to go ahead and protect themselves from chlorine gas. They got attacked by the CRM. Spoilers, everyone is worried about that. They got attacked by the CRM. And so we're not shown how they discovered this safe area, how Michonne found Nat and everyone else. But I personally don't mind that. I don't need to be shown Michonne struggling about, coughing, and struggling to scream because her lungs are being affected by the chlorine gas. So I appreciate how the pacing for that was jumped ahead a little bit in order to continue the story. So despite me saying there's more telling than showing, I'm appreciating the fact that the scenes... there's not a lot of expository in terms of dialogue. They're at least showing us. We could fill in the puzzle. Okay, Michonne's in this building. She obviously found Nat, Aiden, and Bailey, and encountered this building and went inside as soon as she could. So yes, hopefully that makes sense. So although the pacing is quite fast, I haven't really felt pacing this fast since Game of Thrones last season. I would argue that for this instance, the quick pacing makes a lot of sense, and so I'm willing to excuse it. If this was a 10 episode season, I feel like no, the writers should go back and edit their work, make it tighter. But I think the reason why the pacing is so fast is to make it tight, to make it concise. So would I recommend The Ones Who Live episode 2? Even if one hasn't seen The Walking Dead, to be honest with everyone, yes, I would recommend it. I'm starting to realize that The Ones Who Live is very much a love story, a romance story. And because of that, since it's not really focusing on the details of Rick from Alexandria. The teachers of Michonne from Alexandria. It's more focusing on Rick and Michonne as individuals, just as themselves. If one hasn't seen The Walking Dead and they're just interested in The Ones Who Live, I think it'll be doable, to be honest. I think it'll be possible. They may not have as much patience towards the pacing because they won't understand how long Rick and Michonne have been separated from one another, the way that the fan base is. But from the story itself, I do believe that those who haven't seen The Walking Dead, they'll be able to appreciate this story. In addition to those who obviously have seen The Walking Dead. So do I recommend this episode? Yes, I definitely do. I recommend it for those who are both fans of The Walking Dead universe and those who are just passerbyers who are hearing of how critically acclaimed the Ones Who Live is doing so far. It's getting the best scores and best viewership compared to the other Walking Dead spin-offs, so I'm really happy about that. So thank you so much for joining me on this discussion about The Ones Who Live. I thank you for your patience. If I know I'm taking a while to release them. The show itself is already on episode 5, but for sure I'll be releasing an episode for I'll be releasing a video for each episode because I do want to have my thoughts about this show. I love that Rick Grimes is back. I'm enjoying the story, and I'm for sure going to do a video of the whole series as a whole, The Ones Who Live, once it's all done, which will be unfortunately already next Sunday, which is a little bit crazy to think about. But anyways, thank you again so much for joining me. I do appreciate it. Oh, finally, my cat. I was worried that she wouldn't make an appearance throughout the whole video, but she made her appearance at the end. her face is like, don't touch me at the moment. I was walking towards you. But yeah, so I'm happy that she was able to make her appearance. Just like Rick Grimes, we all thought he was gone, but at the last minute, he's back, and we're excited that he's back. Again, I am a big Rick Grimes fan, so at least I personally am quite excited that he's back. Hence one more fist bump in the air. Anyways, thanks to you again, everyone. Have a great day, and take care.